We have a question here about two classes. 7A has 30 pupils and 7B also has 30 pupils. In 7A, 40% of the pupils are boys. In 7B, they have 25% more boys than there are in 7A. And we're expected to work out the number of boys in 7A, the number of boys in 7B, and the number of boys in total. In order to do that, we can work out what 40% of 30 is. We could write it as we say it. 40 per means divide, centres 100, 40% of 30. Cancel the zeros here, and we get 4 times 3, which is 12 boys. So we know the number of boys. If you're not used to this method, you could use the change factor method. 40% is the same as 0.4. 0.4 times 30. 4 3s are 12. Ignoring the decimal points, 4 times 30 would be 120, but we've got a decimal point in the question, so we have to put a decimal point back in the answer. We'd still get the same answer, 12 boys. If you don't feel confident with either of these methods, we could always say that we know 100% is the same as 30 boys. So if we went from 100 down to 10%, by dividing by 10, we would get 3 boys. So if 100% is 30 boys, 10% is the same as 30 divided by 10, which is 3 boys. Now that we've got 10%, we can easily get up to 40% by multiplying by 4. 10 times 4 is 40%. So we multiply by the same number with our boys, times by 4. 3 times 4 is 12 boys. So this one takes quite a little bit more of space, but if this is the way that you feel most comfortable doing, it's a good way to continue practicing. So we know now that we've got 12 boys. What do we know about 7B? Well, we know that they have the same number of boys as in 7A, plus an extra 25%. So what we can say is they have, how many boys are there in 7A? There are 12. But 7B has the 100% that the 7A has, plus an extra 25%. So they have 125% of 12. They have 25% extra. They've got the same number of boys plus an extra 5. We can think of that as being 125. So we're trying to find out what 125% of 12 is. And we could do that quite easy by multiplying, thinking of 125 over 100 as being the same as 25 times 5 would give us 125, and 25 times 4 would give us 100. Here the 25's cancel. So we get 5 over 4 times 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we get 5 times 3, which is 15 boys. So one way of doing it is looking at adding the extra percent that we want onto 100% will give us 15 boys. Let's try it another way as well. We can add them separately as well. We can work out what is 25% of 12. That's quite easy now because 25% we know is a quarter. So it's the same as a quarter of 12 boys. That's 12 divided by 4, which is 3 boys. So we know that this extra 25% is 3 boys. So we know that in 7A we must have the 12, in 7B we must have the 12 boys of 7A plus an extra 3. So that we know that the number of boys in total is 12 boys plus the 3 boys, so we get 15 boys. So we now know that 7A had 12 boys and 7B had 15 boys. What is the number of boys in total then? Well, if we were to calculate the number of boys in 7A and 7B, we have to think of the number of boys in 7A and 7B altogether divided by the number of pupils, the number of children in 7A and 7B. What do we know? We know we have 12 boys and 15 boys. So we have 12 boys and 15 boys in 7A, 12 in 7A, 15 in 7B. And we have 30 plus 30 in total, so divided by 60. There's 30 pupils in 7A and 30 pupils in 7B. So we then have 27 divided by 60, which looks complicated, but it isn't if we think of the fact that we could divide top and bottom by 3. 27 divides by 3 and 60 divides by 3. When we do that, 27 divided by 3 is 9 and 60 divided by 3 is 20. Now we can change this quite simply to percent by multiplying top and bottom by 5. We get 100 down here, and that's really what we'd like to get. 9 5s are 45. 20 times 5 is 100. So in 7A and 7B in total, there should be 45% boys in 7A and 7B. Okay? So getting the total percentage of boys is quite easy. Could we have got that a different way? Yes, we could actually. We know here we've got 40% boys. And if we look at the number of boys we've got here, we've got 15. So the percentage of boys that we have in 7B is 15 out of 30, which is the same as 50%. So there are 40% of boys in 7A and there are 50% of boys in 7B. These classes are both exactly the same size, and because they're exactly the same size, there's no difference in the number of pupils. We could actually take an average percentage. 40% boys plus 50% boys is 90, divided by 2, 90 divided by 2 is 45. So when the class sizes are the same, we can take the average percentage of these two classes, but only if there's exactly the same number of boys in both classes. If we were to exaggerate and say there was 100 pupils in this class and only 10 pupils in this class, we could not take average percentage, because if you tried to add them divided by the total number of pupils, you would see the difference in percentage that you get. And you should try that at home. Pretend that there are 10 pupils in this class. How many boys would that be? And there were 100 pupils in this class. How many boys would that be? Work out the percentage using this formula, boys in 7A and 7B divided by the children, compared with working out the percentage if you took the average percentage of this class and this class. Okay, good luck.